Hi guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's Jim and Steve here, and sorry we're a day late, but we had something came up yesterday, and we apologize to our audience.
We're
But
busy people. We have scheduling conflicts like our audience members may have.
we do things.
Right. So we're glad to be back here.
Yeah, a lot to catch up on. It's a big
Exactly.
day in sports, and so. But again, thanks for joining us, and we're going to jump right into the NFL. We got some other stuff. We're going to cover some baseball and things, obviously, but our first segment is sponsored by Coriano Trucking of West Haverstraw, New York, and we thank them very much for their support. So, Steve, here we are. Let's jump right into it. NFL, it was championship weekend, and from my perspective, things turned out, I think, exactly how we thought they would. Mahomes, the guy's unbelievable. But we got to look at the Niners. Their defense is unbelievable. So can a great quarterback go against a great defense? And you and I have talked about Andy Reid and so forth. And yeah, one of the most well-liked guys in the NFL. We like him. Craig Stadler lookalike, right?
Who doesn't like a fat, gregarious, funny guy? Coach Reid.
Yeah.
He's well liked by his players.
And
Obviously.
listen, we're kind of pulling for. We're NFC guys, but with Mahomes and stuff, I think this is going to be Andy Reid's Lombardi Trophy Sunday. What do you think? 2 weeks from yesterday.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's talk about each game in particular. So
Yeah, please.
let's not discount the Tennessee Titans. Prior to the game, I was all in on KC all week. And again, I know you're not a point spread guy, but I kind of am. But it was a 7-point spread. KC favored at KC. I thought KC would win, but I also thought Tennessee would. I thought it'd be like a field goal game. And once again, I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs, the 2 games in a row, go down. Not quite as significant as what they did against Houston.
The week before.
Right, but they're down 10-0 in the blink of an eye.
And it means nothing to this number 15.
It means nothing, exactly. So you really credit Pat Mahomes as the difference maker. The Kansas City Chiefs come back. And again, Mahomes is the absolute difference here. There's no question.
Big time.
And, the fact is 50 years have gone by since the Kansas City Chiefs have made an appearance in the Super Bowl.
Most dapper head coach in Super Bowl history. I think.
Hank Stram was one of our all-time favorites.
Not to dismiss Tom Landry. They're both haberdashery type.
Absolutely.
Park Avenue coaches.
No
from a
doubt.
dressing
Whatever
perspective.
deal Hank had with his local Kansas City haberdashery company,
You bet.
he dressed well for the part.
Yep.
And, the reason I brought that up, 50 years have gone by for Kansas City, and Andy Reid obviously is making his second appearance as a head coach.
Yeah.
I saw an interesting stat. So Andy Reid was the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and time flies, really. So when I saw the stat, it was 2004
When he was, let go?
for the Philadelphia Eagles that they were in the Super Bowl
Oh, yeah.
against the New England Patriots.
Oh, we know what happened there.
2004. The puke game, Donovan McNabb, et cetera, et cetera. But my point is, one other coach has made 2 Super Bowls and has the record for the longest gap in between Super Bowls. Andy
Ooh.
Reid just came in second.
I think I'm being tested here.
So Andy Reid, 16 years, right? So it'll be 2020 Super Bowl, 2004.
What, between appearances in the Super Bowl
Correct, that's
and
the
then
head
winning the
coach.
Super Bowl?
I'll just say his appearance.
Whew.
DV.
DV.
Initials are DV. Used to coach at UCLA.
Dick Vitale.
Wrong sport.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But okay.
You know who I mean. You know who I
Mr.
mean.
Vermeil.
Dick Vermeil. I'm sorry.
So
Yeah.
Dick Vermeil was the head coach.
I
in
just
19
heard Dick Vitale on the radio a couple of weeks ago, and
That's
I've
okay.
always been a fan of his.
That's
Sorry.
fine.
Dick Exactly, Dick Vermeil.
But I thought it was an interesting fact.
Yep.
So Dick Vermeil, 1980, remember the Eagles and the Raiders,
And came back with the
gym.
greatest show on turf,
and
right?
came back in 1999.
Yep.
So 19 years had went by, but Andy Reid 16 years. And you congratulate Kansas City again. I think Pat Mahomes is the absolute difference here.
Big time. He's going to get the biggest contract in NFL history
At
in
some
about
point, he will.
you know, 6
if he
months.
wins
or
the
something.
Super Bowl, that will certainly help.
Whether he does or
his cause.
doesn't, he's getting the biggest contract.
Right. And here's the thing: he's only in his third year.
And he's 24 years old. I mean, how ridiculous
The
is that?
sky is the limit with this guy.
You bet.
So congratulations, Kansas City, and also congratulations to Tennessee. Derrick Henry,
What a great year.
as great as he was,
Great year.
Kansas City shut him down, and so going into the second game, I was all in on San Francisco. I'll say that, and they didn't disappoint.
Well, we talked about it, and I was kind of, I was kind of silently all in on San Francisco, but I realized that for me to say I'm not gonna bet for Aaron Rodgers would be ludicrous. But it kind of played out the way they mopped them up, 27-0 at halftime.
Really?
Wow. I mean, come on.
And Jimmy Garoppolo, 6 of 8 for 77 yards.
Right, but he didn't have to do anything but hand the ball off to these guys.
To one guy in
Raheem
particular.
Bostert?
No.
Bostert?
No, his name is Raheem Mostert. And Raheem Mostert, interesting fact too, drafted out of Purdue, was cut 7 times prior to getting to San Francisco.
Played on the Jets taxi squad, too.
And all he did was run for 220 yards and 4 touchdowns.
I heard the interview with him after the game. Not even he could believe it. What a second, your 15 minutes of fame, maybe, but whatever. Prime time. Wow, his name is out there now.
And I tell you what, I couldn't have been more impressed with this kid. Congratulating his teammates, real team guy.
Yep.
He's a name, obviously, just came on the scene. Has anybody really heard of him? Yeah. Has he had a nice year? We talked about the 3-headed monster, that's San Francisco's running game. But we got to go back to what is the strength of the San Francisco 49ers?
Their defense.
Nick Bosa and company.
Okay.
Right? So if you're looking at Aaron Rodgers, and let's just say you didn't watch the game, what have you. Aaron Rodgers was 31 for 39 for 326 yards and 2 Ds. And that couldn't have been more misleading, right, when you watched the game and just saw how smothered he was. So you credit San Francisco. It's a really good Super Bowl. I'm also very happy, and it's a breath of fresh air, that New England is not in the equation.
All right.
And we're watching a Super Bowl.
Beep,
that
beep,
doesn't
beep.
have that name.
Back it up.
I'm just speaking for myself.
And I know that seems to be the popular theory, that it's finally over. We get rid of the Brady Belichick era. But you know what? Don't count this guy out.
I'm not saying they're not back next year, but I'm saying I like to take a breath of fresh air.
I'm kind of taking the other path. I'd love to see this domination. I'd love to see somebody, if he won his 7th Super Bowl this year, it would have been incredible. But it didn't happen, obviously. And then, listen, full disclosure, I thought New England was the only team that could have beaten Baltimore, and they got knocked out. And here we are, Kansas City, San Francisco Super Bowl.
I think it's a great Super Bowl.
Me too.
I do.
Me too.
God, it's hard for me because I like Pat Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs, who talked about 50 years, Hank Stram.
Right.
But I'm an NFC guy at heart. And, the San Francisco 49ers killed me with the catch, obviously, with Joe Cool and Dwight Clark years and years ago.
Many.
But I got to tell you what, I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl.
Me too.
As we come to broadcast, KC is a 1-point favorite. And I also saw another stat. There's only really been 5. I'm going to say will be the 5th Super Bowl where the spread will be less than 3 points. Right? Which I think means those are 2 evenly matched teams.
To me, it doesn't.
But there has never been a pick'em game in the Super Bowl. And you know what? Who's to say that this doesn't become a pick'em game? because you got two evenly matched teams. You got a really good defense.
I think with this DraftKings stuff, this Pick'em stuff is off the board. It's going to be a point and a half one way or the other.
I do
because
too.
somebody has to have the edge.
But I'm not discounting that it may be. But at the end of the day, we still got 2 weeks to the Super Bowl. Right now, I'm always a believer in make your tackles, run the ball, defense wins championships.
And don't turn it over.
And don't turn it over.
I mean, come on, now we sound like these hacks and pre-games.
But you know what? It's as simple as that.
But we know that.
Defense wins championships. So right now, I'm giving a slight edge to San Francisco, even though Pat Mahomes is a world beater.
Okay. Well, listen, we know how it's going to come down. I think it's not going to be a blowout. We know it's going to be a close game. And somebody is going to make a big play. Like Mahomes made that run down the sideline was amazing.
Mahomes is going to make several big plays.
Right, but it's somebody, and it may be an unknown, maybe a guy we expected. It could be Bosa sacking him, at the end and picking up and running a fumble. We never know, but I think it's going to be a competitive Super Bowl, and looking forward to it.
And I'm all in on heads on the coin flip. I'm telling you right now, I'm all in on heads.
And I'm all in on the halftime show too, for the first time ever. And I think who's the halftime entertainment here. Hall of Famer.
Yeah, well, have fun watching it.
Well, no, I'll go, do my business and then come back 20 minutes later, and the stage will finally be set up.
Are you kidding? I'm taking a 2-hour nap during halftime.
Yeah, okay.
But other NFL news, so again, we congratulate KC, San Francisco. I think at the end of the day,
They're the right teams for the game.
right, two of the best teams, NFC, AFC, I think
Yep.
both have risen and deserve to be in the Super Bowl.
But let's talk about our picks then. I'm all in on Kansas City. I don't see Mahomes and Reed leaving this on the table. Are you?
Jim in on KC.
And Steve in on San Fran?
Subject to change, but I'm
Okay.
gonna take San Francisco here.
Okay.
Okay, so here's some other NFL news I wanted to bring up. We always are big Hall of Fame guys. Yes.
Yes.
And I think after,
Oh, yes.
well, we broadcast last week, we talked about Coach Cower and Jimmy Johnson get in, but then there was a slew of, we talked about 15 guys.
The Winston Hills and all those who
Right.
got in.
So let me just run them off for the audience here. And
Who's in?
well, for the most part, I think a lot of these guys deserve to be in. So I'm going to start with a tandem here. Jim Langer, Bob Kuchenberg, lineman, perfect season, Miami Dolphins.
Jim Langer wasn't in the Hall of Fame already?
Nope.
Whoa.
Both deserve to be in.
Absolutely.
Donnie Shell,
He could hit like hell.
safety, Pittsburgh Steelers. Now I got some feedback from my Oakland Raider fans who think the Raiders are getting screwed, and it's like Pittsburgh, like a lot of
What, the Villapianos didn't get in?
favoritism towards Pittsburgh. But I got to tell you what, Donnie Shell did play like 14 years. He was a first-team All-Pro.
And he hit like a truck.
And he hit like a truck. He had a lot of interceptions.
Yep.
When I thought of Hall of Fame, have I ever thought of Donnie Shell? But you know what? I looked at his numbers. I don't have a problem with Donnie Shell.
Okay. Good.
Winston Hill, obviously lineman, New York Jets for our Jet Nation, Jets, Jets.
And I'm happy for the Jet fans. When he was, Winston Hill was one of the Sunoco stamp book,
Right,
for
early
those,
70s, member of the Super Bowl 69
and
team.
got a ring. But Super Bowl, Hall of Fame, there's another guy on this list that we thought, Jimbo Covert. Was he better than Winston Hill? I think so.
Yeah, well, I don't have a problem with Jimbo Covert getting
I
in.
know where you're going with this.
Right.
Finish the guys that got in, and then we're going to bring up the number one guy who didn't even get a look.
Harold Carmichael, wide receiver, Philadelphia Eagles.
It's pretty good.
He was pretty good.
Hall of Famer.
And I'm going to come back to Harold Carmichael because he got in over a fellow NFC East guy, wide receiver,
Tony Hill.
Drew Pearson. So I'll bring it up right now. So Drew Pearson is the only member of the all 1970s all-decade team
That's not in the Hall
that
of
is
Fame.
not in the Hall of Fame.
Wow. He belongs in the Hall of Fame before Harold Carmichael.
Thank you.
Okay, move on.
Another Dallas Cowboy, Cliff Harris, safety.
If Paul Krause from the Vikings is in, then Cliff Harris should be in. And I believe Paul Krause is in.
He
the Hall
is
of Fame.
in. However, I am on the fence about this, being very objective here. I love Cliff Harris, Dallas Cowboy fan, but our standard is such. Listen,
Wow,
listen,
this is surprising to me.
listen. He's in, but I got to tell you, I don't know about it.
All right.
Okay.
I think he belongs in if some of these other guys. If Donnie Shell gets in, then Cliff Harris gets in.
And then here's another guy that we all know from TV in the 70s and 80s, and I really think he should be in prior, not because of his football acumen, but because he was the dad in Webster.
Alex Karras. He was pretty good in Webster.
I'm joking, of course. But you know what, Alex Karras, 98 and a half career sacks. He still has the Lions record. The guy was a beast. And of course, what is his famous role in Blazing Saddles?
Of course.
Mambo! Right? So just that alone gets it.
Bart.
Absolutely.
Right, of course.
All right, so Alex,
Great player.
Alex Karras gets it.
But he got tainted because of the gambling thing. We know that.
Of course.
Obviously.
Of course. And then our boy Paul Tagliabue, commissioner, who we met.
I met.
You know, Jim and I and our brother Tom used to attend the NFL draft.
Yep.
Way back when in New York City, and
Yep.
you know we had the privilege. We talked about we met Gil Brandt and some iconic NFL guys.
I remember meeting also Paul Tagliabue at a Jets, like the breakfast preseason kickoff luncheon.
Yeah.
Fordham guy, you know, which our brother and our niece are Fordham
Right.
grads and so
Absolutely.
forth.
So I think Tags is well deserving to get in. The
Right.
guy was the commissioner for a long time. There's a couple other guys, but those are the real prominent names. So
But let's talk
I wanted to
about
bring that up.
let's talk about who didn't. And again, I'm not going to rest in peace until Joe Klecko even gets a look. He's not even in the Hall of Fame and didn't get invited into this crazy, whatever they call it, what, the 150th thing?
They're
Or
100.
Whatever.
You're confusing the 150 with college football.
Joe, we're going to have you on our show and we're going to talk about this. Believe me. But you deserve to be in, and
And we will still lobby for you as best as we can.
yes, we will.
Okay?
Good.
So then shifting gears here for the NFL, a couple of other, noteworthy things throughout the past week. Jason Garrett being hired as the offensive coordinator for the Giants. Your thoughts on that?
I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it at all. And I actually thought it was going to happen because I know he had Giants ties. He's a smart guy. He was in a toxic environment in Dallas, and he couldn't succeed. And I actually liked the choice. Like I told you, I wasn't initially when I was a little surprised about the Judge thing, but I'm fully on board with it, and I like the Garrett choice.
Yeah, listen.
Not making game time decisions, just being the offensive guy.
That's fine.
Let's see it.
A lot of people are holding me a gun to my head saying, Jason Garrett would never go to the Giants. All I said was I didn't think Jason Garrett was going to be the head coach of the New York Giants. I never said, and again, off the air and talking to audience members, friends, family, what have you, I don't have a problem with that.
I don't either.
Mike,
I don't either.
Mike Shula was the offensive coordinator last year. He interviewed. And I tell you what, the new coach, Joe Judge, I don't think that's a bad thing for the New York Giants hiring.
I don't either. I like it, actually. I'm it's kind of growing on me.
Okay. And then, one other thing I wanted to talk about was free agency for the NFL, and specifically quarterbacks. So, there are some prominent names out there. Two especially. Word on the street is Tom Brady.
Is going to San Diego Chargers.
The LA Chargers.
LA Chargers. Yeah,
Right.
right. Sorry.
I don't believe that's going to happen.
Not gonna happen. Wouldn't be prudent.
That's right. But he's a California native.
I don't care.
I just think it's media stuff.
His legacy is gonna be like Lou Gehrig played for the Yankees and the Yankees alone, and that's what he's gonna do, and he's not going anywhere.
That's exactly right. Brady, I don't think goes anywhere. Drew Brees resigns with the Saints for probably another year,
And then he's done.
and then he's done.
Yep.
I don't even think that's a debate.
Nope.
But you got three less than quarterbacks, meaning not of that stature.
Who's up?
Teddy
Fitzmagic?
Bridgewater.
Oh, come on. You know.
I think Teddy Bridgewater's going to get a starting job somewhere.
No.
No?
Not gonna happen. No.
Okay.
Solid right. In the past 5 years, he's the best backup of all time.
I think Teddy Bridgewater.
And he did a good job when he filled in for Breeze when he was hurt.
I've been a big fan of him.
I know that,
I
but
think he deserves a starting job somewhere, and I
Okay.
say he gets a good contract.
All right.
Marcus Mariota.
He may be, working with me next week at
Exactly.
USIS.
And then famous Jameis Winston, 30 for 30, Jameis Winston. Caveat emptor once again. Buyer beware.
No, move on. He's not getting anything.
Exactly.
He's not getting anything.
But the point is, those are the most
Okay.
prominent quarterbacks
Okay.
out there. So, again, obviously we're going to do Super Bowl coverage as the game, so it's 2 weeks away. less
Right,
than that.
the first week, just let them do whatever they want, and I can't stand the pregame hype and so forth.
I don't watch
Just
a minute of it.
Let's play ball. Let's
play ball. So if you have any comments on the NFL, sportswithmono@gmail.com. And then, just to finish our football, what about my LSU Baton Rouge Bengals last Monday night?
Hey, listen, I got to give you credit, Steve. You were with these guys all along. It came to it. I took Clemson. Told you I can't bet against Dabo Sweeney, and I thought the defense, and it looked great for the first half. But this kid Burrow, he had the year of his life. He had one of the greatest years in college football history. And it all played out, and he sealed his legacy in college football, and I'm happy for him. And I love that Ed Orgeron guy. Isn't he great? I got to tell you, this kid, Joe Burrow. But congratulations to the Bayou Bengals. It was great, and they really took it to him in the second half.
And they're well deserving.
Absolutely. And it could have gone either way. We were thinking, when we were talking about this game, like I said, logic, and you were right, saying it looks like on paper and with Burrow's year that they were going to take this. And then I said, how do I dismiss Dabo Sweeney and that defense? And it looked good in the beginning, but it turned out it was the year of LSU. It was the year of Joe Burrow, won the Heisman Trophy. Congratulations to them, and they did everything they needed, and they sealed the deal. We're gonna look back on this in 20 years and say, did this guy or this guy have a Joe Burrow type year?
Right. So
Amazing. It was really amazing.
And I also had a debate with some people too. So Joe Burrow literally had the best statistical season ever by a college quarterback.
Right.
However, a couple guys made some points. You really got to start looking at the errors, though. Meaning, would Joe Burrow throw 60 touchdown passes in the 80s, in the 90s? No. Absolutely not. Why?
Because the game was different then.
But that's my point, and
Yeah.
that's the argument. And then I'm saying, I can't knock Joe Burrow. This is what the rules are in today.
Of course.
And you know what? The kid backed up everything, had the greatest season.
I don't know who would be knocking Joe Burrow in any way, shape,
I
or
don't think
form.
anybody's knocking him. I think people are just saying, listen, would he have done what he did if he was playing the Miami Hurricanes of the 80s or the Nebraska Cornhuskers of 93, 94, of Oklahoma in the 70s?
It's like saying, is Larry Walker as good as Babe Ruth was, or could Larry Walker have hit those numbers in the 1930s? Hard to even bring it up like that.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Larry Walker because we're going to transition now, and that's our segment for football.
And
for the week.
brought to you guys by Lynch Motors of Manchester, Connecticut.
So, breaking news, I don't know, 2.5 hours ago.
Yeah.
So two members of retired at least 5 years ago, one more than the other. But I just wanted to lead with this regarding Mr. Derek Jeter,
Number 2.
number 2.
Shortstop.
Marmalard, dead. Niedermeyer, dead. One sports writer with a lot of explaining to do.
Well, let's talk
is
about...
the only guy out of 697 eligible voters. Derek gets 696. You better have
Listen.
a very good.
But we know what's
argument.
going on. Steve and I just talked about this, and he actually phrased it as a question. So there's 700 eligible or whatever, 600.
697.
Right, eligible sports writers that can vote. And I said, let me guess, one guy didn't vote for him. And we know what that's about. The guy couldn't possibly sit there and look and say, Derek Jeter doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. This guy's trying to make a name for himself in the media forum like Sports with Mono and Mono. But we wouldn't be so naive and ignorant to even possibly do that. And we're not going to give this guy's name, and I hope the rest of the media doesn't give him the due that he's looking for being the only holdout. It's ludicrous. The guy's a Hall of Famer. Listen, let me get back to this real quick with the unanimous vote. You know, if Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and these guys weren't unanimous, then, you know, does it taint Mariano Rivera being unanimous? No, because this was a different era. But the thing, you know, it's ludicrous that one guy would not vote for this guy.
The jerk store called. They want their votes back.
Right.
That's
So,
it.
Okay.
But you made the point I was going to make. Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Sam Musial,
Willie
Hank
Mays.
Aaron, Willie Mays,
Yes.
Ted Williams.
Right.
Ridiculous.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not surprised. However, if Mariano Rivera is unanimous, Derek Jeter.
And that opens up the floodgates.
It does. It's a
for the
debate,
future.
but you know what? At the end of the day, this guy, we're not going to mention him, but he will be outed at some point.
Good.
Have a lot of explaining to do.
No, there's no justification whatsoever.
Jerk.
And who's the other guy you were talking about? that
So
got
the other
Hall of
guy that made it, and I think Larry Walker, in his last year of eligibility, just got over the 75% threshold.
Fame? Sympathy vote?
I don't have a problem with Larry Walker.
Look,
But
I
Larry
think you
Walker.
and I talked about Larry Walker, and his numbers were good. He was injury prone, didn't play, you know, never played more than 150 games in a season. And yeah, and you give, what do you think of the Coors Field thing? But he was a good all-around ball player. Hall of Fame, I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence.
No, I think he's a Hall of Fame. And again, our test is he a Hall of Famer? Yes or no? Right? That's
And you can answer it in 0.6 seconds.
But
you
the
know.
fact of the matter is he.
But I had to
his
go,
last
Larry
year of
Walker,
eligibility.
Hall of Fame. All right, you know. Anyway, he's in.
So
Congratulations
those are
to
the two.
the Walkers.
Congratulations. And what fell short was the bloody sock, Kurt Schilling.
And I'm glad that you brought that up. And here, let me give you my 2 cents on this Kurt Schilling thing.
He's going to get in.
Of course he's going to get in. And I'm not saying he wasn't a very, very good pitcher. But people said, when you saw him pitch, yeah, when you saw him pitch a couple of games, he was lights out. His entire career, like we've watched, right? And we, you know, with his contemporaries, was he Greg Maddux? Was he Tom Glavine? No, I don't think so. And it goes back to the old thing. If Kurt Schilling goes to the Hall of Fame, then Andy Pettitte has to go to the Hall of Fame. Is it based on postseason performance or a lifetime? Was he Steve Carlton when we used to watch Steve Carlton? We go, you know, nobody's going to beat Steve Carlton tonight. And nobody did. Tom Seaver, we can go on and on. We're talking about our generation while we were alive, right? We can go back to the Warren Spahns and the Christy Mathesons and the Lefty Groves and the Bob Fellers. We know about them. They dominated their generation. But did Kurt Schilling dominate? When he took the mound, did I say, that guy's a surefire Hall of Famer? No,
Well, I got to say, Kurt Schilling in the postseason was a money pitcher.
Okay, but so was Andy Pettitte.
I understand
I
that.
mean,
But to your point, I think he's going to get in.
He's gonna get in.
That's a valid argument.
He's gonna get
so
in.
I think if Kurt, when he gets in, most likely it would be next year because he garnered, I think, a little bit over 60%.
Yeah, he's inching up. He's getting a
But
more
that will
percentage.
open the gates for the Andy Pettits and the other guys. So, so like next year, so I have to make mention of our steroid junkies. So,
Yeah, I had no problem with leaving them.
Bonds and Clemens got 60%, meaning, they're just inching up.
They're inching up, that's right.
And, I mean,
What did Pudge Rodriguez get? I
but
mean,
let's be real about Clemens and Bonds. These are two guys that if they never did steroids,
they still would have gone to the Hall of
course they
Fame.
would have gone to the Hall of Fame.
Agreed.
So it's interesting because next year's eligibility, meaning Kurt Schilling opening the floodgates for pitchers like this, Mark Burley is going to be eligible next year. So when you think Hall of Fame, do you think of Mark Burley? as the
No,
Hall
I
of
think
Fame?
what this is, Steve, these are guys that have been retired for 5 years, so their name goes on the ballot automatically. Of course, Mark Burley's not going to. No hitters. Not going to happen.
Tim Hudson,
Absolutely not.
Torrey Hunter,
Not a chance.
of course, but that's my point.
Right. It means they're running out of guys to put it on the ballot. But,
Right.
And it goes back, listen, we saw what happened. A lot of people say, okay, well, Torrey Hunter, look at his numbers compared to Harold Baines. Harold
Torrey-
Baines got in.
Torrey Hunter had a very good career.
Solid player. yes.
Exactly. Not knocking the guy whatsoever.
He made a lot of unbelievable catches over the fence.
But that's the point.
He was the original Sports Center back. He pulls it in kind of thing.
He was an all-around good ball
He was a
player.
great ball player. Yep.
So anyway, congratulations to
Yep.
Derek Jeter and Larry Walker. And again, I thought it was worthy to have that debate about 697 sports writers and 696 feel that Derek Jeter.
No.
Right, so that would have broken, I guess, without Mariano's unanimous. Tom Seaver, Ken Griffey. I think Ken Griffey Jr. passed Tom Seaver, if I remember correctly. Seaver had the all-time
Highest percentage vote.
98-6 or something,
Right.
and Griffey, but I'm sure Jeter's right up there with them. However, I think it's a farce. And I can't speak again with the Mutuals and the Mazes, how ridiculous that was back then.
Comparing these ball players to them is ludicrous.
I'm just talking about the voting
I know.
of like just guys that are surefire, not even think about guys.
But I think
and I
when-
feel Derek Jeter is one of those.
And when we think about it again, do we think about it as when we talk about baseball players, and you just mentioned them, the Ty Cobbs, the Babe Ruths, the Lou Gehrig's. I mean, these guys were unbelievable. And everyone says, "Oh, it was the era. No, the ball was it." But nobody else hit 60 home runs in 1927. He had more in the National League. I mean, it's ludicrous. But it's a generational thing. And listen, I have no problem. I do have a problem with Larry Walker getting in. And you know what? It's good news for Torrey Hunter because he's got a chance. He's got a chance.
Yeah, okay.
So
So I wanted to bring that up, and again, pitchers and catchers are
3 weeks away?
yeah, less than a month away, and
Right.
obviously we'll cover baseball as it gets warmer.
And
than we had before.
I like the fact that they're even bringing up Dusty Baker's name as the Mets manager. Is it going to happen? He's 70 years old. He's a great manager. And we remember him as a player in the World Series in '77 with the Dodgers and so forth. He's a great manager. That would be a good choice for the Mets, and I don't care what happens to the Mets.
So
I
that-
hope they screw it up and pick somebody that's going to keep them in the cellar.
So, I mean, what's the elephant in the room? Let's talk about the ongoing scandal that's going on. And we've talked about it, and I said the hammer was going to come down. But you know what? I don't know if the hammer came down as hard as I really think, in retrospect, it should have. There's a lot of debate out there about Houston's title in 17 should be vacated.
It's not going
There's a
to be.
debate that's a worthy debate here. But then you also have the other aspects of, listen, A.J. Hinch loses his job. Cora loses his job. Now Beltran loses his job. I think that's well deserved. But you know what's kind of disturbing, which is still out there, like is now the new conspiracy theory? And you know what? Maybe this guy they should replace on the Operation. Remember Operation, the board game, right?
Of course.
And of course, what's the premise of that game? Is if you use your tongs, then you hit the side, right? So
Remove Funny Bone.
So Jose Altuve may as well be the cover boy for the game of operation.
I think
because I think there is some credence to these guys being strapped with buzzers.
I think there is absolutely no credence. I think it's ludicrous to even consider that this guy was wearing an electronic device where if it beeped on your thigh or wherever you were hiding it, a curveball's coming, and that's why you won the MVP 3 years ago.
Well, how many times do we have to watch Donnie Brasco? Donnie, take your shoes off in the Japanese restaurant. I ain't taking my shoes off.
For nobody.
For nobody. Okay? So I don't think it's ludicrous.
I think it's
especially
absurd.
with technology the way it is.
Okay, I think
And you
it's
know
absurd.
what? I really, I would appreciate our audience members on this. I really want to hear some feedback on this. Okay? And you can buzz me because I'll have a wire in my chest and just let it ring once so I know it's from the audience.
Like if we get an email from Tony, one of our biggest supporters, who says, I'm buzzing in on this, please let us know what it is at Sports with Mono.
If you're going to throw me a curveball, let it go. But seriously, sportswithmono@gmail.com. I would love to hear some feedback.
And certainly comment on YouTube or SoundCloud as well.
Okay?
We love it.
So we'll see. I don't know if this is that. I mean, there's a lot of... I don't think Manfred realized the backlash that the general public is giving this. So we'll see how it I'm sure it's going to end, don't get me wrong, and everybody got their pennants. But let's also be real. The Houston Astros get fined $5 million.
They lost the first
$5 million.
Right, first and second round draft picks for 2 years,
Okay.
but that's a lot. You know,
Okay.
they got to regroup with a new manager, new general manager. I don't know.
But my point is, if there's more evidence that comes out, I don't think the story is going to end unless there's irrefutable evidence. But I wanted to bring that up. It's the
Okay.
elephant in the room.
Good.
Okay?
Well, we covered baseball really well and so forth, but I can't wait. I can't wait to the Super Bowl. We got 2 weeks away, and
Yeah.
looking forward to that. And there'll be comings and goings in baseball, but we certainly wanted to make sure we covered that. And listen, for our NBA fans, right? Let's touch base. We only have a few minutes before we wrap up, but
Okay.
I tried to watch the Los Angeles Lakers last night. I just can't do it. I mean, certainly regular season, I can't do it. I really can't do it. And they're running away with the league. It's just what LeBron James wanted when they got Anthony Davis and so forth.
What, you're not a Rajon Rondo fan?
Not anymore. No, I'm not. I'm not. The whole NBA thing, and I know our loyal fans, and we will get into this. And we do know what we're talking about with sports and the Knicks, the whole Nets and Kyrie Irving and so forth. But listen, 12 months from now, you'll be talking about Kevin Durant, coming back from an Achilles heel, and the Nets will be competitive.
Okay.
But the Knicks, they're so far away. But watching the Lakers, they actually gave them. The NBA wants the Los Angeles Lakers to make the NBA finals
because it's good for business.
It's exactly. They want them in the NBA finals.
I got it, but
So you can rest assured it's going to be the Lakers and Clippers in the conference final out west and so forth. But we'll talk about that because it's also hockey season, right?
No,
and that's
just finishing on the NBA. I will acknowledge there are some really good players out there, and you know what?
No, we don't dismiss that.
You know who one is Damian Lillard of the Portland Trailblazers, who's actually a quality guy, well-spoken,
Yep.
carries himself with class.
Big fan.
The guy scored 61 points yesterday.
Yep.
I think this guy is a lights-out player.
He's
and
a
I wanna
top 5
acknowledge
player
him.
in the NBA.
No doubt.
Yep.
And then tomorrow, I think Zion makes his debut, comes back from injury. So that's noteworthy. But to Jim's point, we'll start covering the NBA once football, is over.
We will.
In a week or two.
We got 2 weeks. No more college football. No more NFL. So we'll.
And then real quick, we'll segue to the UFC. Conor McGregor won in 40 seconds over Cowboy. Okay, that's it on our UFC coverage.
Okay. So moving on. Really,
I really feel sorry for anybody
no, but you know my
that
position.
actually dropped one nickel to watch that ridiculous thing.
Listen, you and I were boxing fans. We watched Foreman, Ali, Norton. We watched them all. This UFC is so barbaric and so circus-like. It's ridiculous. And I didn't spend obviously one dime watching it. I wouldn't spend one dime watching it. And let's move on.
Let's just hope Cowboy Cerrone is okay.
Yeah. Well, we didn't see that McGregor tipped a bus over or threw a chair through a bus window.
Right.
Whatever. Moving on. Way too much time for them. So listen, before we sign off, and again, this was a football and baseball dominated show, but there's other stuff we're going to talk about. But a couple of shout outs here.
Okay.
Right? Happy 80th birthday to the Golden Bear.
Ooh.
Who, Steve and I growing up, and we watch golf, and we know golf, and George Breen is one of our loyal fans, and he knows golf. This guy was so great. He was the Babe Ruth of golf while we were growing up, and then Tiger Woods came along, and I'm not saying anything disparaging about that, but Sam Snead to Jack Nicklaus to Tiger Woods, pretty good in golf.
But to me personally, Jack Nicklaus is my all-time favorite golfer, and I know you have an affinity for Mr. Palmer.
I do.
You do for Arnold Palmer. You had the privilege of meeting him.
I did.
On the course.
And a picture with Arnold that I'll treasure forever.
But happy birthday to the Golden Bear. Really, to me, he's my all-time favorite golfer.
He's not far from Arnold in that vote.
Right.
Awesome. But happy birthday to Jack. And I have another shout out to a guy, a friend of mine at work, Christian. This guy is so freaking funny. And he talks very loud. Sometimes I'm just sitting, I'm 100 feet away and I can hear him cracking jokes. But he's a sports guy. He happens to be a Philadelphia Eagles fan, which I don't know how that worked out. But thanks for listening, Christian.
He's funny? Funny how?
He's funny.
Yeah, funny?
No spite.
What does he amuse you? Hey, Christian, why don't you amuse me, okay?
Or the soprano goes, what are you, Hazel now? But shout out to Christian. Thanks for listening. This guy's an up-and-coming music guy. He's got some albums coming out, and I'm looking forward to
Who is he, the next Yanni?
Yeah, he's a little more hardcore than that. But shout out to him.
Okay.
No question.
Thanks for listening, Christian. Only kidding here.
Any shout out, Steve?
Nah, not in particular.
Okay.
Just, again, looking forward to the Super Bowl.
Me too. Me too.
I always wanted to thank my buddy Mitch Wilson, Pick Dogs. That's going well. And you can find him on YouTube and, subscribe. And, of course, Sports with Mono and Mono. We've actually gotten some nice listeners and new friends from my appearances on Pick Dogs.
Yeah.
And, always find Sports with Mono and Mono. You find me on Facebook, us on Facebook. I'll post the show when we're done. And always find us on SoundCloud and YouTube. And like we said, any emails, sportswithmonoandmono@gmail.com.
Yep.
And obviously you can make any comments you'd like on YouTube, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Oh, I would love to talk about sports for another 2 hours, but it's late at night and people got get up for work in the morning. But we support, we appreciate you guys and the support you give us 100%. Tony, you make a great comment every week,
We
and
love it, totally. Thank you, Tony.
and listen, our show, like I said, we got a couple of sponsors, but Di Filippi's Bakery in Monticello, New York, has been a loyal and supportive sponsor of our show, and we certainly thank them very, very much.
As always.
So, Steve, like you said, comments, questions, anything, we'll digest it, bring it up. We love to hear the Hall of Fame feedback and so forth, both in the NFL and Major League Baseball. Send us an email, give us some comments, and we look forward to the next show.
You got it. See you next week, folks.
All right, Steve. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
Have a good week, guys. Bye.